It's a good question because a lot of people are criticizing a lot of the sort of personal side of it for like being a business book. I felt that I could only train an unsparing and sort of very critical eye on the rest of the world inside that Silicon Valley world if I trained that exact same eye on my own behavior. And so, a lot of the underhanded maneuvers that I accuse of Silicon Valley that I did myself actually, and I'm sure we'll get to it, but like the weird deal with Facebook and Twitter, the 2 kids that I had, choosing not to sort of participate in the fatherhood, that's all there. And it'll sound like, a rah-rah Facebooker, which I guess I am at heart. That open transparency, I think, the sunshine rule, right? That trying to bring that sunshine on Silicon Valley, finally.
Sunshine cures all wounds or heals all.
Something, yeah, there's a quote from Brandeis or something. Yeah,
basically, you really are candid from the get in the book. But you started on Wall Street. You started as a Goldman
Strat, as they're called.
Strat.
Yeah.
Which isn't a trader, which isn't a banker.
No.
Explain what a strat is.
Yeah, a more conventional term. Strat is like the Goldmanese. The more conventional term is a quant.
Right.
And so if you've read Flash Boys by Michael Lewis, it's the guys who code those algos. In my particular case, we were trading what's called credit derivatives, which is like life insurance policies on companies, and is behind a lot of the action in, for example, Michael Lewis's Big Short. And so I was involved with that whole credit crash thing, and we're the guys who built the models and got the the pricing and the risk reports and made all that happen because it's extremely quantitative.
And you're talking about the trades that took down the market you were involved in, or
yes, correct, yes. That's right.
And when you look back on that time, because you do go over that in the first couple of chapters, you kind of savage them a bit.
Yep.
What is it about that group of people that makes them so unique, especially when you compare them to your experience in tech?
People often ask, how'd you, the more low-level question, right, that you get on not very sophisticated radio shows is well, how'd you go from finance to tech? They seem like completely disparate worlds, right, because they just don't understand it. The reality is that I think one of the interesting things the book goes into is that we're seeing this secular shift, right? The world of finance went into the whole Flash Boys world of guys in jackets yelling in an exchange, becoming computers, right? That transformation, I caught the very tail end of that.
Right.
If you go to the stock exchange, I was at CNBC a week ago, and you go there, and the stock exchange is basically just a backdrop for CNBC. Nothing actually happens there, right? Like all those guys, I don't even know what the hell they're doing, but they're just there to basically be in the background.
They're actors now.
They're basically actors, exactly. Yeah. So that exact same transformation was going on in the media. Is going on in the media world now, and that it's becoming this programmatic thing. It's no longer steak dinners and faxes and all that bullshit. It literally is computers talking to each other at a millisecond timescale. And so, getting back to the question of what makes them unique, I think it's very similar in many ways to tech in many ways, and at a couple levels. One, Goldman and Facebook resemble each other. I betray my co-founders and go to Facebook, and part of the reason was, in the initial interview stages, it felt like Goldman. Like the people were really sharp. They were very values-driven. They obviously internalized these values in a deep way. Like they weren't just acting. They actually believed in it. And believe it or not, at Goldman, there were corporate values that people actually took very seriously, which, by the way, often contradicted the interests of the client, but that wasn't the point. The point is they had a loyalty to Goldman.
If you had to sum up at Goldman specifically, what is at the heart of how they operate? What would it be?
To me, the critical thing to understand about Goldman, at least at the time, I don't know what it is right this second, was that until very recently, it was actually a partnership. Right. So old school Wall Street, going back 50 years, it wasn't this business of a public shareholder. The 100 guys, and of course there were obviously guys, who ran the bank, owned the bank. And if the bank failed, they failed, right? They literally were all in on that bank. And I almost said Facebook, Jesus, Freudian slip. Goldman maintained that sort of similar structure. And so the partners really maintain the we're all in it together thing. I'm not going to cash out and leave because part of my net worth is this bank.
Right.
And that kind of trickled down to the rest of the company, and everyone kind of took the company's interest first, sort of. within the context still of the bonus culture of Wall Street, of course. But
yeah, and you talk about that bonus culture, about how addicting it is.
Right.
And how your entire net worth is based upon that one moment.
That's right.
Where, at the end of the year, your boss tells you got this multiplier times your base salary. What was your multiplier at its peak?
Oh, come on. I can't talk about that.
Come on. Give me a range. 3, 10?
No. So it wasn't phrased in terms of multipliers, right? That's a little bit Silicon Valley. So you had a base, which actually wasn't very impressive, actually.
Right. Like a 75K, 100K
Oh, yeah.
base?
Well, mine was higher because the quants were considered to be a little bit like I had a graduate
PhDs,
degree. Right, exactly,
yeah.
So like the base, what was my, I can't even remember, actually, to be honest. I think it was like 125 or something.
Right.
And then you just got a bonus that was just like a number. Like it wasn't even a multiple thing. It was just like your bonus is $250K or whatever it was. And that's it. And then there was no debate about it. You walked out, said thank you, and may I please have another, and like out you go, and that's it. Yeah.
So not enough for you to want to stay there. And you saw the writing at the end. You saw these people who were working there. You go over this in the book, and you said, I just don't want to be that person who gets used to being on this teat for the rest of their life.
I mean, partially that, partially like the only out at Goldman was making partner, right? Like in a startup, one builds equity or you learn skills that have some long-term value, or you build your personal brand. There's like value accreting in various ways, right? In Wall Street, all there is money. Like that literally is all there is, which sounds like a lot, but it actually isn't. It has no long-term value, right? At the end of the day, money actually isn't that important or interesting.
Hey, everybody, let me take a moment to thank our partner, Audible. I am in love with audiobooks and spoken word audio products, and they have over 180,000 titles in every genre, and you can access them from anywhere, on your phone, your iPad, and WhisperSync allows for voice to sync between your Kindle and the audiobook. I don't actually do that a lot, but I have some friends who do that. I just like to read. This is my big trick. I have a hard time going to bed sometimes. My mind is racing. You might be like me sometimes, and you're like, hey, I would like to go to sleep, but I don't want to watch television or be on my laptop or my iPad, because then your eyes get all those rays and you're totally awake. What I like to do is I put my eye mask on, I take my Amazon Echo, and I say, Alexa, play, and I say the number of things on Audible, and it works. So I've been using Alexa. When I'm going to bed, it's right by the nightstand, and I just listen to an audiobook, and I put the timer sometimes on 20 minutes, 30 minutes, because I know, hey, I'm going to fall asleep in 20, 30 minutes. If I don't fall asleep, I can just continue listening, because Audible's got this great feature where you can do 30 minutes. And if you don't like a book, it's guaranteed you can just exchange it with no questions asked. I've given you a ton of different books, but one of the things I get asked by a lot of my friends is, hey, how do I get better at poker? It turns out that Annie Duke, very famous poker player, as you know, wrote a great book, Decide to Play Great Poker. And she reads it herself. It's a strategy guide to low limit Texas Hold'em. And I have to say, having listened to this and told some friends, hey, listen to this, it gives you a really good idea of how to play poker better. It is a great listen. Go ahead and get my pick of the week, Decide to Play Great Poker by Annie Duke. By going to audible.com/twist, audible.com/TWIST, and you'll get a 30-day trial membership just by going there and signing up. And if you're a super fan of the show and you've been listening for a long time, upgrade to that Platinum. The Platinum plan is amazing. You get like 20 credits a year. Amazing. And I buy tons and tons of books. There is a listen guarantee. If you don't like it, you can exchange it. There are no questions asked. You've heard a lot of my other recommendations, The Man Who Knew Infinity, The Hobbit, which I listened to with my daughter over and over again, Sapiens, Smarter, Faster, Better, just tons of amazing, amazing books on Audible, ways to get smarter and ways to expand your horizon. That's the number one thing. We get very myopic being in one industry, technology. You got to expand your horizons and understand more about the world. And I find when I'm trying to understand more about the world, it really makes me a better entrepreneur and an investor. So go ahead and visit audible.com/twist. Thank you so much. I'm a real fan of Audible.